Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Zero from TechDragon.info, and today we have a review of the SteelSeries DeX. This is a mousepad that I recently picked up after it being recommended to me by someone. And today we're going to take a look at... oh, what the hell is that? Something underneath. Today we're going to take a look at this mousepad and look at the pros and cons of it. So, I have used it for a while now, for about a week, and like I said, it was recommended to me by somebody who's been using it for 2 years now. So I do have some in-depth experience, as it were, with it. Not per se myself, but I know someone that has experience with. Not this model. I think they have a slightly smaller model, about yay size. So apparently this one does come in a different size, but this particular one is 32 centimeters wide by 27 centimeters high. So yeah, let's go over it. I don't know how well this will capture. It will capture pretty well. It has a sort of honey grade kind of surface to it, which gives it a very fine kind of slick, smooth surface. I'll get back to that in a moment because I have something for that. If we look at it, it's very flexible. It's kind of rubbery, as it were, I guess is the best way, silicone-y, which keeps it nice and flat, which is nice. Now, one of the drawbacks that I have with it, even though this bottom side, as you can see, it's very sort of rubbery, it actually does not grip as well as my old SteelSeries, which we have over there. I know it look dirty, they're old, that's why I need replacing. That is a very old one, it's just here for testing purposes, so you'll see in a minute why. So I'm a little bit disappointed by this bottom. If I put my hand on here, and you can see that I'm slowly moving it. I'm putting some pressure on, but not all that much. So I'm a little bit disappointed by the gripping strength of the bottom. I did expect more from it. Let's turn it over here. As you can see, very rubbery, very movable. I don't know how well this comes over on the video, but you can see it's very sort of rubbery kind of surface, but it does... I guess silicone is the best way to describe the bottom. It does not grip as well as I kind of thought / hoped it would. So that's one of the downsides. Well, the downside is the only one. Other than that, this thing is waterproof, so you can clean it very easily. As you can see here, the seams are very nicely molded together. Pretty seamless, like you can't even feel it at all. Very nicely done. So we are comparing it to my old SteelSeries, which is just old SteelSeries. I have to say this bottom though is much better at gripping the desk. Like if I move this one and put my hand on it, I'm putting a lot of force here and it's not moving. Like I'm even slipping off it. It's barely moving. And if we take a look at this old one, which is just old, yeah, it's moving. Yeah, way too much. So that is just for comparison's sake. That is my last one, SteelSeries. This one, hopefully, I won't have to replace for years to come. Like I said, I know somebody that has this thing for 2 years already, same thing. I'm not sure if I mentioned it, it's a SteelSeries DeX, I think I did, but and it's going to be in the title, so kind of, yeah. Has it for 2 years, 2.5 years, I think, and there's just no, like on this one, you'll see this edges curl up a bit. Let me go down a little bit so you can see. Yeah, this one is about 11 bucks, give or take, euros. And this one is 43, so it is a bit more expensive. It's a bigger one too, but hopefully I will not have to replace this one for years and years to come. Now, where this thing shines, let me take you to my test rig. So on this test rig, as you can see here, I've made a little spacer. It's real quick, just to give this thing a bit of an elevation, as you can see. That's the kind of angle we're looking at here. So a decent angle, but let's take a look. So if we take the old one, the old mousepad, put it on here, and we take a old mouse that's currently broken, put it on here, let's see what happens. Insert crickets. Not much. If we pull up the wire here, take it off, get rid of the friction, if we move it along, like by pulling the wire I mean, we can get it to go off. Okay, so let's move over to the old SteelSeries and do the same thing again. You'll see that it will slowly start to move a little bit, just a tad. It is like right on the edge. I'm just barely touching the cable when it's coming down. So this is right at the friction point where it will start to come down. So let's now put on the SteelSeries DeX. and this is where you'll see this thing shine. Yeah, that's the exact same angle in all three of them. The first one, it wouldn't move at all. The second one, it was right at the friction point where the weight, the mass of it would overcome the friction. This one, oh, you saw it. That is the difference in tension surface between these three mouse pads. So with this structure, they really have made a surface that is so fine and so frictionless that it actually makes your mouse touch less surface at a time while still retaining all ability to track with its laser or optical LED. That it will still work just fine, absolutely fantastic even. And the funny thing is, if you switch from that surface to this one, you actually have to turn down your DPI because there's just better tracking on this mouse pad than there is that one. Which is weird, but you actually have to lower DPI because it's faster on this thing, because it just has better pulling of this surface than it does with that one. So that really surprised me, that this thing actually is not just better in its surface friction on your mouse, but also in your ability to read the surface and be able to move your mouse on it. So yeah, it is a bit expensive. I mean, I could buy 3 of those for the price of one of these, 3 to 4. So yeah, it is a bit expensive. Not quite 4, but you know what I mean. If you get it on discounts, do it. It's a nice mouse pad, like I said. The only downside, like I said, is that you meant to do that. That was the spacer I had on the side here. Is that you can move this thing, as you can see here. I can push it off. So that is the only downside. It does depend on how you use it and where you use it. I usually, oh, my hand is in the cord of the cable. Can I show you there? I usually use it at a bit of an angle, and my arm is going to be down the desk, so I do pull it towards me ever so slightly. So usually once or twice a night, I'll just have to put it back in place. I can live with that. That's not a terrible downside. It's just something to be basically to know. It's not something you find in most reviews. Not something I saw anywhere, but yeah, that's one of the downsides. The bottom, maybe if you keep it clean properly, like constantly clean it, it will have a bit more friction to it. But yeah, that is the SteelSeries DeX. A bit expensive, but for tracking and for just the way that your mouse moves on it, like the smoothness of the surface, it smacks the other two out of the water, not even close. So yeah, it is expensive, but the surface, I have to say, is pretty damn good, and I know that this is going to last me at least 2 years. Now, given that that one is 2 years old as well, and that's the person I know that has one of these, it pretty much looks like this. After 2 years, it still looks pristine. You can, like I said, you can wash it, it's waterproof, so you can just sink this thing in a tub of water and clean it if you want. Take it in the shower with you if you want. You can clean this thing, and that will help just keep this thing up and running. So there you have it, the SteelSeries DeX. It's expensive as all hell for a mousepad, but it seems to be worth it, and I was pleasantly surprised by the performance. And again, only downside is the bottom, which I might come up with a fix for. We'll have to see. But yeah, so far, it gets my stamp of approval. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more, please subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.